What is going on, everybody? What is going on? The Catch fam, my name is John Dawson, and in today's video, we are hopping into another 2023 fantasy football mock draft. For today's video, we've got a full PPR 8-team mock draft requested that I draft from the 1.1. Guys, it's mock draft season here at the Catch. If you guys have any mock draft requests, regardless of format, 8 teams, 14 teams, half PPR, full PPR, double flex, super flex, whatever it may be, let me know in the comments down below, as long as you guys are subscribed to the channel, which if you're not, I do kindly ask on your way in. If you find today's video helpful, enjoyable in any way, whatever it may be, hit that subscribe button, come join the Catch Fam community. But like I said, as long as you guys are subscribed, I will put together a video just like this one where I give you round by round roster construction advice. So hit that like button on the way in, hit that subscribe button. If you guys have any other comments, questions, concerns pertaining to the 2023 fantasy football season, let me know down below and I'll get back to you as soon as I possibly can. Let's not waste any more time. Let's hop into today's mock draft. All right, like I said when I started the video, requested that I drafted from the 1.1. Let's not waste any time at all. We're taking Justin Jefferson there, Jamar Chase, Christian McCaffrey, right outside that 1.1 contention. If you guys have been following the channel, you guys know that I love Bijan Robinson, but ultimately it's got to be JJ off the board at the 1.1 there, really regardless of format. So speaking of format, for today's video, we've got 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, a tight end, a flex spot, kicker, defense, because we're close enough to August that we're going to include those, and 5 bench spots. So yeah, not a lot to discuss here. We're taking Justin Jefferson at the 1.1, 99.9% of mock drafts that you see right now. You're going to see JJ off the board at the 1.1. Your wide receiver 6 in his rookie season, wide receiver 4 in his sophomore season, and the wide receiver 1 in 2022. So I really don't have any fears whatsoever about JJ having a top 5 finish at worst going into the year, as long as he's fully healthy. Moving along, looking at the 2.8 or the 3.1, I'm going to go ahead and just take the best available wide receiver and the best available running back, kind of do a hero running back build, so to speak, but we're just not getting, that elite first round value at the running back position. I think things are going to be just fine, though. There are some pretty good wide receivers available. Part of me is kind of, I don't know, kind of tempted to go double wide receiver. Actually, you know what? Scratch that. We're going 0 running back tonight. Give me Amon-Ra St. Brown and give me Garrett Wilson. What an absolutely insane way to start this mock draft, even in an 8-team league. Look, in these 8-team formats, you want positional advantage throughout your drafts, okay? So you do want to try and have a stud running back, right? You do want a good quarterback. You do want a good tight end. But when it comes to the wide receiver position, if you're getting handed great values at the wide receiver position, or maybe we look at, team 3 here, who's got 3 running backs so far, if you're getting handed just absolutely good value, sometimes you just got to go ahead and take it. So that fills in our wide receiver 2 spot and our flex spot. We have 3 absolute studs at the wide receiver position. 3 wide receivers who you could easily argue all could finish in the top 5. I'll take that all day long. But let's go ahead and talk about the quarterback position. I think one unique thing in these 8-team formats is, we see Mahomes gone, we see Allen gone here at the end of the third. All of that's fine. And I do think if you land Kelsey in an 8-team format, you might as well go for the Mahomes stack. But ultimately, you can essentially get a great quarterback still in that top elite tier. I think there are 7 quarterbacks. Obviously there's 3 guys at the very top: Hurts, Allen, Mahomes. But I still think Burrow, Lamar, Fields, Herbert, and T-Law ultimately are still going to have elite seasons. And that gives you, 7 to 8 guys. There's also Prescott and Watson who are fine. But there are enough quarterbacks in an 8-team format that you can fade quarterback and still come out of your draft with a player who's going to be in that stud contention. So I'm going to continue to fade the quarterback position. We do need to go ahead and take a running back, but I just said all that, and Jalen Hurts is on the board, who, don't get me wrong, you can absolutely, definitely consider taking Jalen Hurts at this point in the draft, and it's kind of hard to pass on him. I'm not going to lie to you guys. So let's take all that back, and don't get me wrong, I still agree with all those points, okay? But once again, positional value, very important in 8-team formats, and I do think you can fade quarterback. I've done that in most of the 8-team mock drafts that I put up for you guys, so you can go check those out. But Jalen Hurts is way too good of a value, and I'm never going to tell you guys to pass on value when it's there. So let's go ahead and take our first running back off the board. There are good wide receivers here, but we've got absolute studs at wide receivers. This is a single flex league, or else, maybe consider going wide receiver here. But Najee Harris, Brees Hall, Kenneth Walker, you can really go with any of these guys and they're fine. Let's go Najee Harris. I don't mind Najee Harris whatsoever at this point in the draft. I know that there are a lot of you guys out there who are not fans of Najee, which is okay. Some people act like he's the worst running back in the National Football League, going from the RB3 to the RB14 between his rookie and sophomore seasons. And I get it. There was a steady drop off, but the drop off came because Ben Roethlisberger retired and they had a rookie quarterback in Kenny Pickett with a little sprinkle of Mitch Trubisky in there as well. And that took away all of Najee Harris's upside in terms of the passing game. Went from 94 targets to 53 targets, 74 receptions to 41 receptions, 467 receiving yards to 229 receiving yards. But he still had 3 receiving touchdowns in his sophomore season, which is what he had in his rookie year. When we look at the rushing game, 3.91 yards per carry in his rookie season, 3.82 in his sophomore season. Not really a big drop off there. The same amount of rushing touchdowns in his sophomore season as his rookie season, and 7 touchdowns. And, ultimately he finished with about 160 less rushing yards. So still not that bad in the rushing yard category. And ultimately he had about 40 less rushing attempts. When you look at him from a fantasy perspective, though, his ceiling was low last year, but he gave you double digits every game last year except for 3. Don't get me wrong. Some of those were 10 points, 11 points, 12 or 13 points, but he also got hot at the right time through the fantasy playoffs. 14 or more fantasy points, including week 18 if he had to play through week 18, 14 or more fantasy points in every playoff game last year in fantasy football. So Najee Harris, I think a model of consistency. If you take him as your RB1, we probably still prefer him as an RB2, but if he is your RB1, at least you know what you're getting, and then he can go for some upside, take a little bit of risk at the RB2 position, which we'll get to probably within, the next 2 selections. So I think at 6.8, 7.1, we take our RB2, but in full PPR formats, whether it's one flex or double flex, I always recommend having a wide receiver on your bench that you believe in, because God forbid anything happens to your wide receiver 2, even your wide receiver 1 or your flex player, then you have the ability to quickly filter in another wide receiver who is going to give you a good ceiling on a weekly basis. So there's a couple of names that I like coming up. You got DeAndre Hopkins, Drake London, Jerry Jeudy, Christian Watson, Brandon Ayuk, Chris Godwin. There's all kinds of names. And I'm actually probably going to draft a player against his ADP and go for Christian Kirk, because I think Christian Kirk's just going to have a phenomenal year. Trevor Lawrence going to take another step forward. Yes, I prefer Calvin Ridley, but Christian Kirk line up in the slot almost more than any other wide receiver in the league last year. He is going to be fine. Ridley's not going to line up in the slot, okay? Ridley's going to take the top off of defenses, and in turn, in my belief, that's actually going to help Christian Kirk on a regular basis. He's going to be that security blanket. He has the chemistry with Trevor Lawrence. He's going to be just fine. All right, plenty of good running backs here, but I want to go for some upside with our RB2. I'm going DeAndre Swift. There are a lot of good options here. Miles Sanders, Dameon Pierce are fine. Madison, Dobbins, Akers, whoever you want. I like Swift as an upside pick. I'll take him all day long there. And then, I'm going to draft Christian Kirk against some, that might be a little controversial as well. You got D-Hop, Judy, Watson, Chris Godwin, Brandon Ayuk, all available. I do really like Christian Watson there as well. And I really like Brandon Ayuk. And then you got some of those veterans, and you got Jerry Jeudy. There are names here for sure, but I already gave my reason for Christian Kirk. I like that offense a lot going into the year, and I'm going to take the risk on Christian Kirk, so to speak, against ADP. And more so in terms of risk, DeAndre Swift as my RB2, I don't mind it. Listen, DeAndre Swift is going to be utilized to his maximum potential with the Philadelphia Eagles. He's going to be the running back for the Eagles who gets the most involved in the passing game. He's going to be just fine. Kenneth Gainwell is going to get a lot of touches. I've been talking about Gainwell essentially all offseason long. He's actually my most drafted running back in Underdog at the moment, because in so many drafts, I take him as my RB5, I take him as my RB6, and that percentage has just kind of skyrocketed for my personal drafts. But I just have believed all offseason long that Gainwell is going to be included in that offense. And when you look at the reports coming out, yes, Gainwell is going to get touches. He's taken a lot of reps with the first team. But DeAndre Swift is the running back who brings the upside. to the table with the Philadelphia Eagles. When you look at things, right, opposing defenses have to account for AJ Brown, have to account for Devonta Smith, excuse me, have to account for what Jalen Hurts can do with his legs, what Dallas Goedert brings to the table. And at the end of the day, all that is good for DeAndre Swift, who, like I said, I think is going to be on the field a lot on third downs and in any situation where the Eagles are probably going to throw the football. Plus, Kenneth Gainwell, Boston Scott, Rashad Penny, all these other running backs, that's going to help alleviate kind of the concerns we've had with DeAndre Swift in the past. Because when you look at things, he doesn't need to be on the field 24/7 now. I mean, I know Jamal Williams was there last year, but ultimately Swift is just in a position where he can be utilized to his maximum skill set, excuse me. And I just am a huge fan of Swift going into the year. Plus, with Hurts on this team, I mean, that feels kind of nice. Maybe you get a little bit of stack action here and there. But we talked about fading quarterback earlier. And this is the reason why in your 8-team formats, we're in the end of the 8th round and Trevor Lawrence is still available. Don't get me wrong, I love where we got Jalen Hurts, and I like Hurts more than Lawrence going into the year, but I also really like Trevor Lawrence, so it's just a good example of, Lawrence being available in the 8th round. I mean, that is the kind of value you're looking for in these 8-team formats. So sitting here at the 8.8 and the 9.1, we'll probably just go ahead. I mean, there's a couple routes we could go here, right? Let's go ahead and take another running back, though. Plenty of names on the board. Let's just go with kind of a safe, boring pick. Let's go Alexander Madison. There are other names I like here. Cam Akers, Rashad White, even Isaiah Pacheco, and of course, David Montgomery. But nonetheless, let's go Madison. Then we can either go with one more wide receiver, maybe a Jahan Dotson for some upside, maybe Jordan Addison, Tyler Lockett, George Pickens. There's plenty of good names here. But ultimately, let's take another Eagles player. Let's get our tight end off the board because, once again, in the 8-team format, I do think you can fade tight end and come out of your draft, with a late round Evan Ingram, with a late round Pat Fryermuth. Kyle Pitts is still on the board. Darren Waller still on the board. I specifically took Goddard because we have Hurts. Get a little bit of that stack action throughout a couple weeks here and there. But also, I really like Goddard, who probably would have finished as a top 5 tight end last year if he didn't get hurt. Was your tight end 12 on the season. So I still like Goddard in that range. And ultimately, I just kind of feel like throughout this draft, we've been in a position where we've had good value at quarterback and tight end fall to us. As opposed to, in most of these drafts, I'm kind of just sitting back and waiting for, oh, Trevor Lawrence is still available. Let's draft him. Or we're in like the 11th or 12th round, and for some reason, Evan Ingram's there. Or if we miss on Evan Ingram or Pat Fryermuth, we just wait and redraft David Njoku or Cole Kmet. But the way this draft has gone tonight, let's go ahead and take Goddard. And I think ultimately how we want to finish things out, we have 3 bench spots, a kicker, and defense spot. So obviously, we're going to need at least one more running back, and outside of that, we're probably just going to draft a couple wide receivers. In full PPR format, I prefer wide receiver depth, but I will say I am super confident in this wide receiver room we've put together. I mean, I know it's an 8-team format and everything, and we draft, primarily with 12-team formats on this channel, but I think those 4 wide receivers, I don't even know if that would happen in a majority of your 8-team formats. I think it's almost too good. But nonetheless, yeah, I mean, gosh, Trevor Lawrence in the 10th round, Kyle Pitts in the 10th round. This is why you can fade those positions and still come out of your draft with a very good team. Nonetheless, we're going to go running back at 10.8 or 11.1. Rashad White, Isaiah Pacheco, definitely my top targets. You've got Dalvin Cook, James Cook, Javonte Williams, AJ Dillon, Gibson, Brian Robinson also available. I prefer Rashad White there, especially as an RB4. I love that. But I'll take Isaiah Pacheco, perfectly fine with that. And then you kind of just want to go best available wide receiver. You could kind of reach for Sky Moore here. Could go Deontay Johnson, but I'm going to go for some upside. I'm going to go Zay Flowers. I think he's absolutely in the position to compete to be the wide receiver 1 for the Baltimore Ravens. And on top of that, you just look at the trim. The rookie wide receivers the past couple years in the league, and in regards to fantasy football, they produce sooner rather than later, and they bring upside to the table on a regular basis. So I'll take Zay Flowers all day long there. He's someone I've been talking about for quite a few weeks throughout the offseason now, but he's also starting to kind of skyrocket, so to speak, up on mock draft rankings, ADP overall. So I'll take them all day long there. If we can land Sky Moore with this next pick, I don't have any problem whatsoever with Sky Moore as a wide receiver 6. And in some formats, he's going to be, drafted well before your wide receiver 6. So love him coming up here. But I also like Antonio Gibson if we wanted to take another running back, even AJ Dillon, Zach Charbonnet. There's plenty of options. If we wanted a second quarterback, I don't think it's necessary, but you could go with Deshaun Watson if he's still there. If we want another tight end, Evan Ingram, Pat Freiermuth, David Njoku, Cole Kmet are still all on the board. But ultimately, for me, I probably want to go running back or wide receiver with this next coming selection. We'll just kind of see who's available and take the best available player. Then in the 13th and 14th round, we're going to go ahead and select a kicker and defense and call this draft a day. So, like I said at the beginning of the video, I mean, I've been getting a lot of requests for 8-team formats lately. I think that's probably because a lot of channels out there don't really make videos for 8-team formats, but I have no problem whatsoever doing it. And yeah, like I said at the beginning of the video, if you have any mock draft requests, regardless of format, we've done a little bit of everything so far throughout the offseason. So super flex, 3 wide receivers, double flex, single flex, half PPR, full PPR, 12 teams, 8 teams, 14 teams, whatever you guys need. Let me know in the comments down below. I am more than happy to get a video put on the schedule just like this one where I'm giving you guys round by round roster construction advice and throwing together a little team. It doesn't matter what specific strategy you guys want. If you guys want me to go 0 running back, hero running back, whatever it may be, aggressive at wide receiver, quarterback early, whatever it is, let me know and I'll put together a video for you guys. But that schedule, for these mock draft requests is starting to fill up pretty quickly. And as August goes on, it will fill up pretty quickly. So just let me know in the comments down below. Happy to get a video put together for you guys. As long as you are subscribed to the channel, and go ahead and hit that subscribe button if you guys haven't done so already. All right, so moving up to the 12.8, Sky Moore comes to us. Let's take him all day long, and then we can take either the first kicker or the first defense off the board, so we kind of have that advantage. Let's just take Justin Tucker. I don't mind Daniel Carlson, who's been your kicker number 1 the last 2 years in fantasy, as the first kicker off the board either. And, ultimately, like, now we're going to get the final pick of the draft with a defense, and I think, well, you can easily stream kicker or defense. Either way you want to swing it. I don't have a problem going kicker over defense or going defense over kicker because we can stream either one throughout the season. But we'll go ahead and take Justin Tucker off the board. Maybe just because he kicked that 60-yard field goal in preseason, we'll go ahead and feed into the Justin Tucker hype. But always encourage you guys, don't reach for defenses, don't reach for kickers. Don't take Tucker before a running back or wide receiver, quarterback or tight end even. Don't take the Niners defense, Cowboys defense, whatever it may be, even before a player at the end of an 8-team draft like Jameson Williams or Zach Charbonnet. Like, those guys still have more value in fantasy football. And if you guys are curious, we are one of the few channels in the fantasy community, at least from what I've seen, that still care about the kicker and defensive spots. And throughout the season, my co-host Steven does run a must-start kicker and must-start defense video every single week of the season. We are super excited for that series to continue throughout this coming season. Nonetheless, we're going to wrap things up here. All we're going to do is draft the best available defense with that final selection. So if you guys enjoyed today's video, be sure to hit the like button on the way out. Be sure to subscribe if you guys are new and check out our links down below. Join our free Discord. We have mock drafts going out every single day on our Discord, and you guys can post your own mock drafts if you guys have any mock drafts that you want filled and competitive. Real members of our community will come out and draft with you. On top of that, guys, appreciate you guys hanging out today, viewing the video. Hopefully you guys got something from it if you guys do play in 8-team formats, and was happy to put together this request from the 1.1. So we'll just go ahead and see what defense I land here. If the Patriots somehow fall, I mean, that's just ridiculous. Okay, I mean, I'm glad that they didn't fall, but you can go for a couple, 2 teams I like right here, actually. The Jets, I think, have a lot of upside of defense this year, and the Seahawks. I mean, the Seahawks were your defense 8 last year. The Jets were your defense 11. Let's go with the Jets because they've been exciting throughout the offseason, but either pick is fine. So that'll wrap it up. Thank you guys so much for hanging out today. Hit the like, hit the subscribe, do all the YouTube stuff. Let me know if you guys have any mock draft requests. And with that, I will say thank you guys so much for watching and or listening. And remember, you saw it here on The Catch.